Welcome to Something Positive for Positive People. I'm Courtney Brain. Something positive for positive. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm not trying to be serious.
Yo, no, the way you just like leaned in just now, I was like, yo, this is intense. Oh, shit. Something Positive for Positive People is the leading hub of sexual health communication resources. This is a 501c3 nonprofit. We raise money to continue to provide these resources as well as the experiences of people who are living with and affected by herpes stigma. A lot of the things that we do are teaching people how to disclose, how to talk about sexual health. I've taught trainings to public health professionals and organizations on how to talk to their patients in regards to their concerns about disclosure and speaking about the mental health and stigma components of what it means to navigate a herpes diagnosis. Yeah, there's that and then more. If you want to know more, please check out www.spfpp.org. But overall, what I'm doing is advocating for the integration of these people's lived experiences, navigating stigma, and bringing those communication skills that they've learned and taught us through their stories into sex education resources to aid STD prevention efforts. So this concept, I call it STI minimization. And really, what it does is just incorporate the communication and mental health components into STD prevention efforts. So now that that's been out of the way, Fran, you're my guest today. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm really happy to be here right now.
How long have you been following me? I know that before I knew what you looked like, there was a time period where I just saw like this. It was just your hair in the picture, basically, and like a fifth of your face. I know that that was going on for a while, and then more recently, you and I started to speak. How long has it been? Was it 2020?
It's been, you know what? I wouldn't know. Nah, it's been a while. It's been maybe 3 or 4 years, I reckon.
Okay. And what made you finally decide that you were ready for this?
Do you mean for what we're doing right now?
Yeah.
I guess I'm just over it. I'm over hiding, and yeah, I'm just over hiding. I have nothing to be ashamed of. I'm happy with where I am today, and I've got nothing to hide.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess we can just start with your diagnosis. I'm assuming you have herpes.
Yep.
Oh, I can't remember like the last, I guess, because we've had like conversations that really don't have anything to do with herpes as well. We've been talking lately about just like your journey with sobriety, and we could talk more about that later. But I guess just talk me through your diagnosis. How long have you been diagnosed? Type 1, type 2, location, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I have genital herpes, so type 2, and I was diagnosed about 9 years ago, and I was with I was with my partner, and we were together for 6 months. So I had an outbreak and didn't know, and then we had sex, and then he got it. But my outbreak was much slower than his. So when he got it, his came on really quick and mine came on really slow. So we were both like, oh shit, we both have herpes and we don't know how. So we just assumed we already had it and didn't know.
Okay.
And that was that.
Yeah. So 9 years ago, how things been since 9 years ago? Like I'm assuming that y'all aren't together anymore. How long did you stay together?
We stayed together for 2 years after that.
Did you stay together because of the herpes? Like, was there a point in time where you were just together and you recognized that you probably shouldn't have been sooner than that 2 years?
Definitely not. He is an amazing guy, and that didn't really play any part in us breaking up or anything like that. It wasn't a toxic relationship. It was all love.
What?
So yeah, that didn't. I mean, towards the end, I was like, oh shit. I had to face what was really going on, because I was like, shit, I have herpes and I have to go out there.
Yeah. So what ended the relationship, if you don't mind talking about it?
Just he wanted to move back to England, and I live in Sydney. I love Australia, and he wanted to go back to his home country in England. That's why we broke up.
It's so interesting, and I say this, and the reason I bring it up is because people that I speak to have this idea that because they have herpes and the person that they have herpes with, they need to try and fight through the relationship. Or because a relationship ends, that it's a bad ending or that it has something to do with herpes. And over the course of the evolution of this podcast, so much more of what I talk to people about has less to do with herpes and more about the rest of the person. And it's a really cool little like bait and switch because people come into the podcast and they're like, oh, herpes. Yeah, people have herpes. I'm going to learn about herpes. And then by the end of it, you look up and the only thing you know is that this person who has experiences in life is just, they have herpes. But so much more of the conversation is like this component, y'all weren't wanting to be in the same place. And people who have herpes think that there's not even like a part of them that thinks or believes that they are going to make it into a relationship where that can be a potential issue. So when we talk about these regular ass things that happen to real people, I think that it gives people a more grounded sense of what it means to navigate a relationship, not exclusively in relation to herpes. So I'm happy to hear that the relationship did work out for an actual reason that didn't have anything to do with herpes, regardless if it seems like I might have been like pushing in that direction. So thank you for sharing that.
Yep, no worries.
And you said y'all were together for 6 months. Well, 6 months before you realized you had herpes, and then you dated for 2 years. So once that relationship ended, and you said this was 9 years ago, this was 7 years ago, what was happening? It was like 2016. Where were you? Were you in like college? Were you in the real world, working and everything, or what?
I wasn't doing much. I was partying a lot. I wasn't really thinking about my life or my life direction, or I wasn't really taking my life seriously at the time. So I was just partying. I had a job, but it wasn't anything serious. Just made enough money so that I could party.
Yeah, it was just supported your habit.
Yeah. Yep, but fun.
All right. And when you, I guess around this time, had to start dating again, when you were partying, was there conversations around sexual health with partners or what?
I'll be fully transparent here. I was terrified to tell anyone, so I didn't tell anyone.
Ooh, all right. So did this make you not date, or did it make you not sexual, or did it make you just like party super hard, do drugs, drink, and not have to think about it? You're nodding yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I used the partying as a way to escape the herpes diagnosis. I didn't want to face it, so I did party through it. And I did have some sexual experiences, but I didn't tell them. It was just quick, used condoms, and out the door.
With these sexual experiences, did they ask you if you had anything?
No.
Did you ask them if they had anything?
No.
And well, it's not interesting because that's actually pretty common. But okay. Now, was there, I guess, before you're in your relationship, was there any reason for you to have brought up STIs at all back then?
Oh, you mean when I was with my long-term partner?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I was always terrified of catching an STI or an STD, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what we call it these days. I was always terrified of catching one, but I never did anything about it because most men that I was hooking up with didn't want to use condoms. So I thought it was easier to not use condoms, which was silly. But no, me and my ex-partner, we didn't have any conversation about STIs or anything like that.
Okay. With these relationships or sexual encounters, you said they were quick. Are we talking about like quick, or are we talking about like short term? Because I know there might be like a little bit of a location barrier. When I hear quick, I hear one thing, but when you're saying quick, does that just mean like it was casual?
I think it was a bit of both. So I would sleep with someone. It was a bit of both. So yeah, I would, let's just say, meet someone, sleep with them, and then obviously hate myself for not being able to tell them, and then feeling uncomfortable and just wanting nothing to do with them.
Oh, so this was like not even really like getting to know someone, talk to them, exchange numbers. It was it just like I guess like where I'm trying to put myself where your head would have been at. All right. So you get this herpes diagnosis, you're in a healthy relationship, the relationship ends, and then you're partying, or have you been partying the whole time?
Oh, I was partying the whole time.
All right, that helps. And so you're now single, and now you party, and now I guess like what were your beliefs about dating or relationships now going back into the dating world from that healthy relationship?
Well, it was extremely toxic. Like, there was no way I could attract a healthy partner because I was toxic myself. I was indulging in toxic substances and toxic behaviors. Does that answer the question? I think yeah,
What's
does that answer the
your
question?
so what's your definition of toxic?
No self-awareness. No, like, toxic for me would be you're not on the path of trying to be better. So I
Is
was at my lowest point, not trying to be better.
So was this a conscious choice of not being better, or was this an unconscious pattern?
That's a good question. I feel like it was a bit of both. There was always something in me that knew that I could do better, but I think I was so stuck in the partying phase that all I cared about was, getting high, getting drunk, and going to the party.
hmm The reason that I ask this is because I hear the word toxic just thrown around in a
Yeah, you're right.
lot of different contexts, and
Mhm.
sometimes when people say toxic, that's not what they mean. And so I just
Yeah.
wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper into that specific thing, because for a lot of people, ignorance is bliss. That's one thing. And then for a lot of other people, it's just like we don't know. We just don't know what we don't know. And it doesn't sound like you have friends around you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, who would tell you, hey, friend, you probably should slow down, or maybe we should do something that's not partying today, or perhaps maybe, and then like let the list go on, right? Of suggestions that your friends could have made for you along the way if you were in fact being what you could label as toxic.
Oh, I wouldn't hang out with people that wanted me to be better. We were all encouraging each other to go out and party and get bags of cocaine. Like, that was our thing. It was like, how bad can you be? There was like a pat on. I'm ashamed to say this, but we were all patting each other on the back for our behaviors.
Oh, okay. Um, Tell me more.
Well, in the sense of, it, I don't want to talk about other people, but
You don't
if
have, yeah,
let's
yeah. You don't have to talk about
just
other
say,
people,
for
but
example, if I was to sleep around, my friends would just laugh. Some of them would just laugh at it and be like, "Oh, she's sleeping around. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, like, what happened? What did you get up to?" Instead of saying, "Do you think that's good for your mental health that you're sleeping around with men that don't care about you?"
so were they telling you, or what was this narrative in your head? I guess what did you get out of it? That's my question. I was trying to like figure out a way to word it, but my question is, what did you get out of that?
When did I get out of
No, no,
the?
not when. What did you get out of it? Was there a sense of power or satisfaction, or you just got the coke?
I. Oh, you're talking about the drugs?
Well, no, I mean like with sleeping around,
Oh, sleeping around.
partying, the drugs.
Um, it was. I needed some sort of validation. So it was being the cool party girl and, having people around her, having guys that I could go and, hook up with. Not that I cared about any of them, but it was all very shallow. Yeah, it was just validation was a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm. What kind of validation did you get prior to the feeling the need to go out party, sleep around, do drugs, and drink?
What validation did I get before that?
Mm-hmm.
You mean before the drugs and the alcohol?
Yeah.
None.
So I'm asking this because I'm wondering, when did this sudden need for validation pop up? Was it when the relationship ended?
Oh, are you talking about after the herpes diagnosis? Is that what you're talking about?
It don't even matter. No, just like, where's the validation seeking coming from is what I want to figure out.
Oh, I think that's just, I would assume, just comes from childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
oh, okay. So even in the relationship where you should have gotten validation in your relationship, there was still the partying, drugs, alcohol, and everything. Did you cheat?
No.
Okay, all right. I had to ask. So I am very active and involved in this realm of sex positivity, where you doing what you were doing was mostly praised, and yeah, you go girl, you should do what you're doing. And to hear you now talk about this in a way that's like, this is what I was doing and I didn't have anyone to stop me. That messaging is still very prevalent in the spaces that I occupy in regards to sex education. You should be able to do whatever you want, be a slut, and like be proud of that. And it doesn't necessarily seem like something that you're proud of right now. Can you talk me through that?
Well, it wasn't coming from a healthy place, so why would I be proud of it? I didn't like any of the men I was sleeping with. And for my personality, sleeping around is actually quite damaging to my psyche. I'm going to go out and say that. And to what I would call, like, it's almost like it's damaging to my aura.
Ooh, what do you mean?
So I feel like we all have like an energetic body. So the way I feel when I sleep around is I feel used, and I feel as if I'm giving away a part of myself and it's not being appreciated. Whereas I feel like, yeah, I wasn't looking at sex like it was sacred. It was just like whatever. It was like, ugh, just do whatever with anyone.
Did your friends know you viewed sex this way? Did you know you viewed sex this way?
I did. I was just trying to be like everyone else.
Ooh. So everybody else was doing this, or was everybody else just kind of like saying they were doing this? And the reason I ask is because I see people enable people to do things all the time, and they're like, yeah, go, I support it. But they never do that themselves because they just know. Like, and I'm wondering if there were perhaps friends that you had who lived vicariously through you while they maintain the sacredness of their sex and their sexuality. And like, maybe they didn't do coke, but they were like, yeah, girl, go get the coke, right? Or they didn't get the guys. You're laughing, but like, is that? I'm wondering if you had friends like that who might have just been like in the back, cheering from the bleachers while living a whole separate life that they go home to at the end of the day when y'all done partying.
Definitely not. I would say that, I don't want to use the word worse, but they were doing more than I was.
All right, so you were the follower in the pack. You weren't the leader of the pack. You were just like the one.
I was the leader. I was a follower.
All right. Damn. Okay. So I guess, how do you repair your aura? Like, when do you just wake up and realize, okay, this isn't for me anymore. I don't want to party. I don't want to do the drinking. I don't want to do the drugs. I don't want to have the sex.
Well, I was going nowhere, and I was really depressed, and my self-esteem was so low from all of my decisions, like extremely low. And I had to get out of that.
What did that time period look like for you? How long ago was that?
It's taken a while. I'd say when COVID happened was when obviously the clubs shut and no one was out drinking. So I was like, okay, this is it. So that was when it started. But it was 2020. So I'd say only now is it really instilled in me that I can't go back or I'll destroy my life.
Mm. And did you have any type of support? Because COVID was a very lonely time for a lot of people. And if you are deciding to completely change your lifestyle at that point, I imagine you lost a lot of connections that you previously had.
I had plenty of support. I have actually a really big circle of people that I know. So I'll have some sober friends, I'll have some party friends, I'll have some religious friends. Like, I feel like I have a pretty good circle. So I didn't feel lonely at all during COVID
Okay.
or when I decided to change.
Oh, so the people around you were supportive when you
Yeah.
decided to make your changes.
Yeah, 100%. But it was slow because I kept going back to drinking.
Mm. How did you keep slipping back into, well, wait, was that a decision that you wanted to make at that time to stop drinking? Or was it just like, you knew you needed to make some changes and you decided, all right, I want to make some changes. And then like going back to drinking wasn't necessarily a thing. It was just that you didn't stop ever.
Well, I didn't want to come to terms with the fact that I had to let go of that party girl identity, and that going to a club or going to a day party and getting drunk and chasing guys on the dance floor isn't going to get me the ideal lifestyle that I want. So I want to make it to the top. And there's nothing wrong with going out and partying and chasing guys on the dance floor, but I did that for 20 years and it was time to let it go.
Hmm. Letting that go, what did you replace that with?
So many things. Therapy was huge. Getting to know myself, because I had no idea who I was. I was like, I have no clue who I am. I had no clue what I like, because all I've done is go to the pub and drink with my friends. So I didn't know what I liked. So it was getting to know what I liked.
And what was that process? So you went to therapy
Did
and
heaps of therapy. I did a lot of psychic work. So working with psychics, that was like a big catalyst for me. I know that's a bit I know that's very out there for some people, but that was my journey. So I worked with a lot of psychics, and then I did therapy. I did dream analysis. I did pole dance. So that sort of kept the flavor alive. What else did I do? Meditation. Just so much self-development work. Anything that had to do with self-development, I was there.
hmm. All right. And has this stuck with you? When's the last time you partied? And well, you can still like go to parties, like right? Like, can you still go out? Do you still go out? And is it just a different experience for you?
Well, if I go out sober, it is a completely different experience, and because you can't really compare going to a party and being drunk to being sober, because you're so much more you're more present. So it is a very different experience, and I can go if I want to. I just have to make sure that I'm not going to have too much temptation around where I might slip.
Mm. Have you like what's the last time that you slipped?
So that was 3 months. I think I'm like 3 months and 17 days sober.
Hmm.
So it would have been that last time that I had a drink.
What caused the slip?
It's always a guy.
Oh, it was a boy? No. So wait, was it one of those things where you were out or he made you mad and you went out drinking, or was it like he offered you a drink and you felt like you needed to just drink to be cool, or what was the situation?
I can't remember. I think it could have just been maybe boredom and wanting attention. Um, and I actually broke up with someone, and then I felt shit about it. So I slipped up and I had a drink.
Oh, okay. You mentioned breaking up with somebody. So are you dating? How is dating now with herpes, especially?
Well, yeah, I would love to tell you this story because I met this guy, and he just wanted to come to my house and sleep with me straight away. And I was like, that's not cool with me. But I liked him so much that I did it. So I just blurted out. I was like, I have herpes. And he was like, I don't care. Do you know how many people have told me they have herpes? He's like, I probably have herpes. And I was like, cool, okay, that's fucking great. So that's what made me just be like, oh, sleep with him. He's so cool about herpes. He doesn't give a fuck. Like, but then he was not really, he didn't care about me. So I had to break it off, and it really hurt my feelings.
I'm sorry to hear that. I thought this was gonna be a much longer story, so I took a drink. My bad. I wasn't ready for that. Oh, uh, is this the only disclosure story you got?
No, I've got plenty.
Oh,
They're
okay.
all, and they're all the same. They're all like, cool, you got herpes? Cool. Let's have sex now. That's it. That's how it goes down.
Really? Do you ask them like about testing at all, or do you care at all? Are condoms discussed? What is it? It just seems like I have herpes, I don't care, and then sex happens, and I think that this is an experience that I don't know that I have on the podcast very often, where someone's not really experiencing or questioning whether or not they were rejected for herpes specifically.
The funny thing is, actually, I've had people tell me that they had HPV. And so obviously, yeah, so that
Really?
was, yeah, so they were disclosing to me that they had HPV. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I have herpes, dude. Like,
Do you only date
I
men?
don't, yes.
Okay. So here in the United States, they can't test men for HPV. How do these
Um,
men know they have HPV?
Genital warts.
Ah, okay. Duh. All right.
So I had two people just disclose before I even had a chance to disclose. So I think that was good. So I felt like if we already had that out of the way, then there wasn't really much else to talk about.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
they obviously didn't care because they were like, I don't care. Don't care about that stuff.
Oh, that scares me. Like that don't scare you when somebody's just like, oh, I don't care. Because like the first thing I'm gonna think is, who else do you not care? Like, am I like the third person that you told that to today, and we about to just continue this process or what?
You know what, it is concerning, because, you know what, yeah, it is concerning, but everyone was just so different in their reaction, and some of them liked me so much that they didn't care, but then there were guys that just really didn't care, like they
Hmm.
wouldn't, obviously they didn't want to use condoms. After I said, hey, I have herpes, they did not want to use condoms at any point.
How much of this has to do with your attraction? And do you ever wonder if people like you, or if they just like how you look and they're like, "Oh, you're so pretty. I don't care."
Yeah, it depends. Some of them, I think some of the guys didn't really, they didn't like me at all. They liked my look.
Hmm.
Um, but I think they would have unprotected sex with anyone, to be honest.
All right.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you tell the difference between someone who likes you and who just like likes things about you, or just like how you look or whatever?
I can 100% tell the difference. It's whether or not I listen to that, and if I'm that starved for attention that I will ignore the fact that there's no connection. It's very surface level.
I love that you're so open about, I'm seeking validation. I need some attention. Like this is what it is. Like I want attention.
Hmm?
Especially because it's so easy to get and it's so accessible, especially even with social media. Like you don't need to leave the house for attention. So, like, do you feel like you're doing things in the name of getting attention that are damaging to this aura that you have even now?
Not anymore, no.
Okay. So how are you feeding this need for attention and validation in a healthy way?
You know what? That is such a good question because I need to address that or I'm gonna lose my shit. Because I don't know, and I need to honestly, I need to think about what you just said because it's really, really important. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Are
what we're doing right now is amazing. I feel like I'm being validated. So maybe, yeah, this is helping. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Um, I find that people find the healthy things in life to be more boring. So when we talk about seeking validation and looking for or wanting attention, that component of just like what it means to have a healthy relationship or a healthy community, like that shit seems so boring to people. And I don't really know what to tell people when they go from having these peaks of just intensity and excitement and the roller coaster rides, and then they get some stability and they're like, yeah, I'm happier now. And you can tell that they're lying. Like, I'm glad that you're able to sit here and be honest with me. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, that healthy shit is boring and it's not fun, but it's consistent, it's stable. And what I've learned is that there's a very critical component to being able to be in healthy relationship and community with people, and it's like you have to intentionally create what would be perceived as like toxic moments that create the illusion of toxicity, but in a healthy way, like having things to look forward to, working towards something that is being built that you'll be able to complete and say, ah, yeah, I did that, we did that. It's a matter of seeing whatever your own progression towards some self development. Like it's that kind of thing as well. These are very important elements to maintaining a healthy sense of validation seeking, because it's gonna happen. Like we all need it. Like men typically like need to be used or want to feel useful. I didn't mean to say need to be used, but like just need to be useful in order to feel validated. And in your case here, you're like, I want some attention. So what are you gonna do for attention to get that validation?
You know what? You know how you said people find it boring when they stop with the extreme highs? The thing is, if you really love yourself, like I'll give you an example. One thing that I want to do is I want to do a singing lesson. I want to get vocal training and I want to sing. And that is by no means boring, but it's absolutely terrifying. So if I really love myself and I really want to step it up, I'm going to have to face some fears. And I don't think that's boring at all. Like facing your fears is anything but boring. So you've got to just, well, how can I say this? I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say you have to grow a pair of balls and you have to go be willing to love yourself enough to go out there and fucking get what you want.
What are we gonna do with a pair of bulls?
Is that I don't know if that's an Australian
I'm messing
saying.
with you. I'm messing with you. The way you say balls, like the way Australians say balls, sounds like bulls, like the male cow. So that's what
Oh,
I. That was a bad joke. um, what you just said is something that's for you, and I think a lot of people look to others for that attention, for that validation. And this is something that if you get singing lessons, yeah, you might sing for other people or you might sing and other people are going to hear it, but you want the singing lessons because you want to be a better singer and that's what you are wanting for yourself. So you're taking these actions, you're taking these steps that are, maybe right now are for you and maybe bigger picture will benefit other people, but that's like a step in the right direction. What other hobbies do you have? What other interests do you have that you're exploring?
I I went to the gym for the first time. I hired a personal trainer and I lifted weights, and I was like, damn, this is amazing. It made me feel so good. And I know a lot of people in recovery, they'll go to the gym and they'll be like, this has been like a missing link. So I'd say fitness is a huge one. And I did the pole dance as well. That was so incredibly fun. And group therapy. Group therapy has been super weird and super interesting. I've really enjoyed that as well.
Okay. And I was going to ask you, I forgot what I was going to ask you, but I was going to bring this up at some point. But I remember seeing you change your social media page to making it more about sobriety. And you said you're in recovery now. So is being in recovery, like, did you go to rehab, or are you just in recovery, like you're no longer drinking? Like, how do you mean that?
So recovery is a term they use in the 12-step program. So I think I'm just using their lingo. Recovery could mean that you have been to rehab, or recovery could just mean that you are like a recovering alcoholic or a recovering whatever, drug addict, or for some reason their terms have stuck with me, and I think recovery is it is my recovery. I think maybe I do like that word because it's recovery from all the damage that I've done.
Okay.
But no, I didn't go to rehab.
Oh, okay. All right. That's why I was wondering. I didn't know like how deep we could dig into this thing.
Yeah.
Because this is such a good. It's giving me a really good understanding of, I guess, the path that people might be on, so that I can speak to it. I talk to people of all different ages, walks of life, sexes, all different sexes. I don't talk to people of all different sexes, but gender identities and sexual orientations and things like that. And there seems to be a few consistent trains of thought, and one of them is that people's behavior does in fact significantly change with their diagnosis when they start to really look at it and what that represents. You seem to be somebody who is very self-aware and willing to do this self-reflection work. So my question to you is, like, what did your herpes diagnosis represent for you that you're recovering from or going through in order to better understand?
I hope this is answering a question, but I actually wrote down on a piece of paper what herpes means to me, and it's actually on the floor next to me, but
you want to pull it up?
Yeah, can I? Is that
right? You wrote it on the back of something that looks really important.
What? What's that?
That piece of paper looks really important. On the other side.
Yeah, on the outside.
Yeah, the other side of it looked important. You just wrote it on the back of
it? Yeah, that's some crap. Ooh, okay.
I'm ready.
I want to share.
Please.
Herpes taught me that we are told that you need to have sex with someone to be worthy of love. I think that's what I was doing. I was having sex with people because I wanted to be worthy. I wanted them to like me. I just wanted, and I was just so desperate to be loved. And I have so much more to offer a man than sex. I have so much more to offer.
What do you say to a young woman who's whatever age you were during those years, who might be having sex looking for love as well?
Advice?
Yeah. Like, what would you say to someone who maybe doesn't know it right now, but is in the process of figuring out that this is what they're doing and this is what they're doing it for?
I would say, please don't do it. Listen to your heart and don't ever let anyone convince you that you need to have sex with them, because you don't owe anyone sex. You absolutely don't. I don't know what else I would say. Just don't do it. Please don't do it unless you really want to.
Because the thing is, like, if someone told you don't do it, would you have listened?
Yeah, you're right. No, I wouldn't have. I had to make those mistakes for myself.
So, to someone who is going to have to make the mistakes for themselves as well, I guess what type of, in hindsight, if you know that you can go back and prevent some of the digging of the hole that is the trenches of the traumas that you've created, and now you're in therapy and recovery for, and there's time that you have to spend now getting out of that hole that you can't get back. Knowing this and knowing what you know now, what did you actually need to hear for you to either change or change your intentionality with what you were doing?
I don't know if I can answer that because I can't see me doing anything else at the time. I honestly don't.
That's really deep. Can we go a little deeper there?
Yeah, well, I can't see myself not doing drugs, not partying. I feel like that had to be a part of my life. So I don't think there's anything I could go back and say, don't do this, don't do that, don't sleep with that guy. I don't think that I could have, how do I put this? I don't think in my state of mind, I was able to do anything but party and have fun. And that's it.
Was it that you didn't see any other ways around you of existing, or were they just all repulsive to you?
That's a good question. I was like, study? I'm not going to study. Are you kidding me? Like, I thought my life purpose, this is for real, I thought my purpose of being on this earth was to party and have a good time. That's what I thought my life purpose was.
Okay, because my next question was just gonna be like, what was your goal? Did you have a goal through partying, and that was the goal?
Yeah, it was the connection. It was, when everyone's high, man, the connection is next level. And I loved that so much. I
Yeah.
fucking loved it.
You loved what again? I'm sorry.
I loved the connecting with strangers.
Uh-huh. And has that stuck with you? Do you still like connecting with strangers? And has that way of connecting evolved a bit?
Oh, it's evolved big time because the only people I will connect with now are people that I know it's going to be a real connection. Like, are you going to mirror the love that I have for you, or are you going to mirror like the interest in wanting to really get to know you? Or even with a connection like what me and you have, this is for me like a really special connection because look at what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it has evolved, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. um I I do this thing, and I recognize that I do this thing where we get somewhere and it seems completely irrelevant, but there's value in it, not just for the podcast, but to that one person who might actually be in that position. You know, you said something that is very insightful, that you didn't see anything else for yourself. And I want to unpack that even more, because for a person who gets their herpes diagnosis, they can't see anything else for themselves outside of not having sex in that moment, at least. And these experiences, when they come and they find this podcast and they hear about people who are having sex, like their minds are blown, because they're like, oh my God, who's going to want to have sex with somebody who has herpes, right? And it takes that challenging of their fixed mindset on what having herpes means for them. The challenging of that really does push them into another train of thought to where they can see different for themselves. So that's why I keep like trying to get more into your experience with having gone through being the party girl, and like just thinking that this was what you were, because in the past, like, men decided that women were wives, women were mothers, and there was like this, I don't want to say trajectory, but like there was a visceral reaction that just, this was what happened. You worked towards becoming that. And so my question, or the reason that I'm like exploring this so much, is I'm wondering, did someone tell you that you were going to be a party girl the same way that in the past someone told women this, you're going to be a wife, you're going to be a mother?
No, it just, I guess, honestly, if there's fate, it was fate for me to be the party girl, because I have that wild child in me, and that was the partying. It was a way for me to let out that wild child, that wild child. So no one ever said to me, "Don't party," or party. Like, no one ever said anything really.
Would you have done what anyone told you to do? Like if someone told you, hey, do this, or hey, be this, would that have changed anything for you?
No, I don't. I highly doubt it. I didn't have a good support system. I didn't have nice teachers that treated me well. My mum was just trying to get by. My dad wasn't there. I had no role models.
Okay. So the absence of presence around you sort of created this environment for you to have to figure it out on your own and kind of have like a little bit of a rocky road. And here you are now, years after partying, and you're on the trajectory that you choose or you chose for yourself, and that this is what you want now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's what being sober taught me. Hey, what do you actually want to do? Like, what lights you on fire? Like, what makes you feel good? What are your passions? Whereas before, if someone said, "What are your passions?" I'd be like, "I have no idea. Please don't ask me that question." I am like so embarrassed that I have no idea what I am or who I am or what I want to do.
Hmm. So for the last, or for this month, it's July. For the entirety of July, I myself haven't been drinking. And it's been like a combination of things. I remember seeing your page. I moved back home to St. Louis, Missouri, which I'm already ready to leave. And um, I was at one of my friends from high school. He had like a party. And one of the guys there, his wife, I think they're married now. His wife made a comment about him coming up on 2 years of sobriety. And I remember hearing, I was like, "Yo, congratulations, man!" And I was like, real excited and enthusiastic for him. I was like, "What we doing for your 2 year?" And he seemed real like shocked. He's like, he played cool, but then like he ended up texting me later. He's like, "Hey, man, like I really appreciate that level of excitement." He was thrown off by it. He was surprised. And I let him know. I was like, it's cool seeing you in these social gatherings where literally everybody's drinking and you're not drinking, but you're still able to be social. And I ain't gonna say sober curious necessarily, but I've noticed that the way that I used to use alcohol, which was really to talk to girls, and it's like now I don't need alcohol to talk to girls. Like I'm grown and I recognize aspects of what that looks like, with alcohol, without alcohol, and I just don't need it. Right? And so for the month of July, I went without a couple of things that were part of my routine that just like ate up time for me, because I had a goal. And the thing that my goal, it was to finish writing the first draft of the book for Something Positive for Positive People. And I just finished it yesterday. I sent it all to the lady who's going to be editing and publishing, and I don't know that I would have been able to do that had I not gone into sobriety. And I had also stopped. I didn't masturbate for the month of July, and that's been something too. Because I looked up, I was like, yo, I think I do this for like 60 to 90 minutes a night, and I go to sleep late. I still got to get up early in the morning, right? And so I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna replace that with yoga. And most of the time I've done yoga, but more recently I haven't been doing the yoga before I go to bed. But all of that just to say, you spoke to something, and I think is important. And the absence of presence around you, it created something else. and that void where there was this absence of presence was what you needed to fill something. You needed to fill it with something, and you filled it with the partying, the alcohol. And on the other side of that, for myself, I recognize that the presence of alcohol, the presence of masturbating for 90 minutes a night, these things removed created a void where there was room for presence. So I was able to be present with the goal that I set for myself, which was to finish this book, and it's done. And I say I didn't masturbate, but I was able to not masturbate. I was still having sex, don't get me wrong, but now that 90 minutes is replaced with, healthy sexual experiences and connections with people as well. So I want to thank you for putting yourself out there and being like, hey, I'm sober. Here's some things that you got to deal with when you're sober, right? And another thing that happened for me is being in settings where people are drinking, it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. And you have this objective bird's eye view of everything going on. And you are present. Like, that's what you are. You don't drink to become more present. You drink to become less present and less sensitive maybe to what's going on around you, because I felt very intuitively in tune with my environment, with the people who are there. I'm able to read the room, like, oh, that person's on a date, that person looks like they might shoot this motherfucker up, I better watch out, that person's getting aggressive, right? And you can see these kinds of things playing out that you otherwise wouldn't have seen. And I remember one day, this was a long time ago, this was during my party phase, I bought a fifth of vodka and I drove to an EDM concert by myself. I parked in the garage, I opened a bottle, I took a shot, and I started drinking. I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck am I doing? And this was years ago. This was before the pandemic. And I remember I did this, and I was like, first off, I got to drink to go do a thing that I think that I want to do. Do I even want to do that thing? And then two, like, if I'm doing this to save money, should I even be in this place? If, like, I'm going to go in here and the reason that I'm drinking now is so that I don't spend money on drinking later. And that was when I think there was a little bit of an adjustment for me, because it went from I drink when I go out to I don't always have to drink when I go out. And that set the stage for me to be at this point eventually. Like, you see it enough, you see around you people that are doing things that's making them better, and we have a internal response to these things. And I think that it challenges me to be better. Like, we want to be around people who are going to make us is not the right word, but who are going to, their presence invokes presence in us. So the presence of people who are not drinking, or the presence of people who are achieving things, right? I think a lot of people can get jealous if they're not in a place for that. And you mentioned mirrors earlier, being able to be mirrors toward one another. Some mirrors are clearer than others, and a person who knows who they are, a person who does respect themselves, love themselves, they have more of a clear mirror, and they're going to be able to show your, like, dirt spots, right? And I find that people who have more smudgy mirrors, they are not always wanting to see that, because when you have a clear reflection of a person in front of you, they're showing you everything. They're showing you those smudges, they're showing you those ketchup stains, those like cracks and creases in the mirror and bad lighting and everything. And if you're not ready, you're going to see that and you're going to lose your shit. But if you are ready, what happens is you find yourself willing and able to get a little bit of Clorox wipes or a little Windex, right? And make yourself a little bit more clear and see more of yourself fully. But I don't think everybody is willing to see themselves fully. And that's why we tend to, we'll keep drinking, or we'll overeat, or we'll overexert ourselves in whatever category that allows for us to distract ourselves to where we're doing anything but cleaning that mirror. And so bringing this back full circle, what cleaning my mirror looked like was, all right, well, I don't think I had anybody like here looking at me necessarily for accountability, but took a hard look at myself. I was like, yo, I'm beating my dick for like an hour to 90 minutes a night. What can I be doing with 90 minutes a night? I'm drinking. It got to a point where I probably would drink once every other week or once a week. But at the same time, even in those settings, it's like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to just fit in? Am I doing this so that people don't ask me, hey, why aren't you drinking? And getting comfortable with just being like, no, I'm not drinking has been its own challenge, but that's a way of setting boundaries, and it's a way of honoring yourself and getting into a practice of doing what's best for you, because we just don't get that opportunity all the time. So you being out there about your own experience, your own story, has been something that has been supportive to me. And even if in short glimpses, like I'm able to see you're in the process of cleaning the smudges off of your mirror, making yourself more reflective to me, and I'm able to see that and move forward accordingly. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Legend. That's really sweet.
What'd you call me?
Legend.
Oh. That's a new one. I was like, huh? How'd you call me Lil Jim? I was like, it was Lil Jim.
Do Americans say legend a lot? Well, not really.
Nah.
Okay, it's an Aussie thing, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said for just the absence of presence, because I think that that's what we're looking for. You mentioned validation and attention, like the quality of the attention that you got, typically merging bodies together, having sex, is present. Typically you have to be there. You ain't reaching for your phone. Other people ain't involved. It's just you and that person. So sex itself can seem like an act of shared presence and connection, but it can also be a disassociated experience as well, especially if it's one that you don't feel connected to the person, if it's not something that you want to do and you're just doing it for the illusion of connection. So what I'm finding is like more of these kinds of conversations, like this is presence to me. Being in person with someone and being able to have a real conversation, or being able to just share space. Like you feel when a person's just being present with you, and you feel it when they're not there. And I think that being more in tune with yourself allows for you to pick up on that a lot sooner. So that's my little 5 cents.
No, I love that. I appreciate you letting me know that, my sobriety journey is having, even if it's a little impact, because sometimes I'll question and be embarrassed that I am sharing my story. But this is why I'm sharing my story. So, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. Do you have a bit, or do you need to go? I see you walking around a little bit. Do you need to get off of here?
Just the noise. I'm trying to get away from the noise.
I don't know if you can hear anything. I don't even hear noise.
Okay, good. Okay. I've been muting it, but
You've been doing great.
Oh, okay, good.
But yeah, do you have a little bit to stick around for a bit so we can do some like after show content for Patreon?
Yep.
Tight. So do you want people from this episode to follow you or anything like that? Because you can tell them how they can contact you. Some people don't like their names being out there, and they don't want people to connect with them. So that's why I asked. So you don't have to say that if you don't want to.
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
If people want to contact me on Instagram, they can.
Okay.
Should I just share my Instagram?
Yep.
I don't even know what it is. I think it's magic77_44.
Oh, all right. We'll have to double check that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Okay, cool. And I'll put that in the show notes as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
Fran, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a privilege and a pleasure.
All right, stick around for a second. That
Yeah.
concludes this episode of Something Positive for Positive People. Please like, rate, review, share, subscribe to this podcast. And you can make donations at www.spfpp.org to support our ongoing advocacy efforts to integrate the lived experiences of people who've gone through and navigated STI stigma into sex education resources so that we may do a better job at aiding STD prevention efforts as they exist. I am on social media at CourtneyBrame_. And yeah, feel free to connect with me if you have any questions. If you want to be a guest, even shoot me an email, Courtney at spfpp.org. And yeah, till next time.